Hey everyone, welcome to the Ceres podcast. I'm your host, founder and director of Ceres, Stelios. Joining me on today's pod squad is David Miller from Orkley Friary, my new co-host for the news review series. We also have Mark Petru, the one and only from Petru Brothers, and the esteemed David Miller from Millers in Haxby, and my good friend Kelly Barnes from Crispies. And the poor thing is nursing a sore ankle today because she fell down the stairs. So if you're listening to this, please do message her and wish her the best of luck. Or actually wish Tim the best of luck because he's probably putting in more hours, bless him. And in today's episode, all of us really do put the world to rights. Well, the fish and chip world to rights. So, I think these are getting better. Listen to it and let us know what you think. Take a moment, if you haven't, to go find us on Facebook. We have a Ceres podcast discussion group. We couldn't make that any shorter, I'm afraid. We are here to spice things up. People are quite shy in the group. They don't want to say something because someone else is watching and they end up messaging me. So after one of these episodes go out, I usually get about 20 messages. So you can message me, obviously. I'm never going to go funny about that. But, if you do want to have a bit of a discussion, then also put it on the group. Like I said, we're here to spice things up. We like to address pressing matters from the industry as well, but we're not taking ourselves too seriously here. We'd love to hear your thoughts on topic suggestions, so please don't hesitate to send them either my way or post them again in the Facebook group. While we aim to keep things light and fun, we are also here to tackle some topics. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by the Ceres Orange or Blue Chipping Basket. Discover our 44-litre orange chipping basket crafted from durable injection moulded orange or blue HDPE. This food-safe basket is perfect for preparing and destarching chips efficiently whilst conserving water and also potato preparation. Its sturdy yet lightweight construction along with high durability nylon handles ensures a reliable grip, making it an essential tool for any fish and chip shop. Visit www.ceres.shop for next day free mainland UK delivery. And if I didn't mention, they also come in blue too. We've got articles on our website on how to use them. They are moving pretty fast, so if you do want them, go ahead and order them. Remember to follow us on social media for the latest updates, but really join our mailing list to get the best offers and news in your inbox. We don't put offers anywhere else. If you enjoy our podcast, then please share it with friends and colleagues in the industry. Now, let's jump into today's pod squad with the group. I hope you enjoy this episode. I thought we were starting early today, but I've spent my morning once again addressing IT issues. So, welcome to the podcast.
I've got a doctor's appointment at 10:15. I'll have to go.
Yeah, that's 1 minute.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
David said hello.
Good morning.
Come back.
Good morning.
Come back.
Good morning.
David Miller's just said hello. We'll come back to say bye. So, yeah. So, how is everyone? Everyone good?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I like to hear. That is what I like to hear. I had a good conversation yesterday with my flour miller. They've been in the business for 160 years. His great-great-granddad started the business. And he was telling me that not so great news, actually, on the wheat harvest. He was saying that they need about 4 to 5 weeks of really good weather because without it, it's not going to be good. And the problem is, they were saying, is that they started planting late as well. And me and David Miller have been learning about the planting of potatoes and everything. So I've been trying to learn more about, wheat, because obviously it's my job, my day-to-day, and we want to start doing masterclasses on that. Not yet, but later on. So I've been talking to him a lot, and he said there was late plantings, and because there was late plantings because of the rain, they're 15% down on plantings, so 15% less square footage of wheat. That's across the UK. And the rain...
summer's going to be on a Thursday this year, second Thursday.
Well, I'll tell them to get ready for that. I'll tell them to put mirrors all over the place or something.
So does that mean Stella won't harvest till September then?
Yeah, they're going to be 4 to 3 weeks later than usual, and that's if it doesn't rain. So at this level, it's 3 weeks later, but they have to get it out at some point. So, and that means that the quality is going to be not so good either. So not only 15% down, but the yield's going to be lower as well, and the quality might not be as good. So, but it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. They'll just be enough. We don't really import a lot of wheat into the UK anyway. We always have a bit of a surplus. So, yeah, is what it is. So, you know, and I don't think, you know, anyone listening to this probably ain't as bothered as wheat prices as they are potato prices. But it's just worth knowing, I guess.
Could I be cheeky, Stella, and ask you live that will the prices go up, or do you think you might maintain it for your lovely customers?
Well, realistically, if we're completely honest, and I'm laughing, if the price goes up, then it goes up. Like that is just that is the fact of life. So last year, when the prices went up, they went down a bit. We put them down a bit. So we constantly we move with the market.
That's good.
You know, and I don't know if you've noticed, we've got loads of special offers on. We've put a lot back. We've got an offer on, a competition on at the moment. So anybody listening to this, anybody who orders anything over £100 gets entered into a competition for a free pallet of batter mix. So
I thought you were going to say a free flow cup then.
That is a really good offer, Kelly. I went to a chip shop, Kelly, about a few years ago, and they had buy 30 fish and chips, and you got a token on the box. If there's a token on the box, you cut it out. I'm not going to say who it is because Mark's going to do a podcast with him soon. And he did buy 30 fish and chips, and you got a free pot of mushy peas, a small one. I still love him for it. Makes me laugh every day. But no,
did it work?
So, possibly. So no, you know, look, it is what it is. Look, regarding pricing, you just got to go with the flow. You know, I think one difference between a business like mine and a business like yours, though, I think, is that I will go up and down and ebb and flow. My business will. Whereas I guess with you guys, if potatoes go up, you put your price of chips up. But when the potatoes go back down, you're not really going back down, are you? So I guess that is the difference. So for you guys, in some ways, a short-term increase actually builds to long-term gains, because when the prices drop back down, you know, like if potatoes go up to like £18 a bag, you've reacted to it. That was a 4-week issue. And then they go back down to 12. No one's readjusting the chip price, are they?
We've just done a contract for the first time in 25 years.
Oh.
Just signed a contract for potatoes.
Yeah, I did see that in the group I'm in with you, actually.
We've never done that. But we did a price analysis over the last 2 years and worked out what the average price of a bag we were paying over that 12 months. And I was like, we need to be doing a contract.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what it's like at the end of it, or even halfway through it, like what the quality was like and everything. But
it's Mark's face. I don't like it. He's got a face. What's he going to say?
Claire says the same thing. She doesn't like his face.
Kelly, can you get out of it then? If because when we've been doing these masterclasses, which I hope you've all enjoyed and listened to, the actual contracts can, if it does go off, let's say it starts off fantastic, and then the quality starts to dwindle, especially as we get into February, March, coming towards the end. Are you stuck with that, or can you get out of that?
We are stuck in it for 12 months.
Right.
But I think with the analysis that we've done over the last 2 years on prices, and we kind of talk about quality and we mark down quality versus what we were paying at the time, in actual fact, I think the price we've got is a good price. So I think for us, it makes sense. And I think especially over the next 12 months when we don't know what's going to happen with politics and tax and all of those sorts of bits and pieces, for us, it was the right decision to take contract out.
It's a merchant you've used for a couple of years anyway, isn't it? I know the merchant. So,
and I do believe we get the best quality. You know, sometimes you think, you say you're getting the best and you're not. But
the only way to know is how many times you have to send them back. How many times are you serving crap? And if the answer is very rare to little, then you're getting decent quality, aren't you? So
yeah, we've never had to send anything back in 2 years. Where with our old supply we did. Although this is the first time this weekend we have.
just so happens I've got a diary for 2025, and I've just made a note in April to ask Kelly how the spuds are.
There you go.
Please do.
Yeah. Well, at this rate, that's probably when we're recording our next pod squad. So, yeah.
I think that leads me lovely into my question. That's talking about spuds. What I want to ask you guys, and I know Mark was forefront of this many years ago. So I know you'll have an opinion, Mark, and you'll probably react in as well. Obviously, with us branching out, doing a bit of street food and whatever, we don't use traditional fish and chips in the street food. We use a Belgian chip called La Tosa, which is sort of hand-cut design. Really good quality, about 10, 11 mil. My question is, do you think, now we're thinking about Gen Z people here, below 30, below 25, 5 years' time, let's have a look at that. Do you think that fries will be on the same menu in the fish and chip shop as well as traditional fish and chips? Or do you think it might, in 10 years, be the prominent one rather than traditional thick-cut chip at 14, 17 mil?
Who wants to go? Go on, Mark.
Can I go first? I think there's a lot to unpack here. There's a generation of people that love a chip shop chip the way they've always loved a chip shop chip, and I call them the grey pound. And they know what they like what they know. They still want it wrapped in white news, probably newspaper if they could have it their way. But it's an ever decreasing circle. They are the generation that is slowly slipping off the dish as well. And in order to future-proof your business, you've got to move with the times. You've got to sell what people want to buy, not what you want to sell. And I think there's a generation of people coming through that are finding fish and chips that are loving fish, but their idea of what a proper chip is different from what the grey pound's idea is. And a chip shop chip historically is 14 mil up, not to the size of a steak chip, but it's 14 mil by 17. That's the most typical chip shop chip. When we talk about fries, we're somewhere between 10, 11 mil up to 14 mil. I think to grow your business or to future-proof it, you have to look at where the chip is evolving to. And you're right. I did look at this a good few years ago, and I've actually recently borrowed a chipper block from my friends at KFE, and I'm testing loaded fries alongside my chip shop chip as we speak. So. The short answer to your question is I think you're absolutely spot on. It might be easier to buy them in rather than to run them alongside. And I know Kelly already does two different types of chip, and her branding on that is is phenomenal. It's part of her unique offer. But yeah, I think fries are something that are going to have to. Are likely to feature more and more. I don't think it's in 5 years' time. I think if you're looking to improve your profit margin and actually get a better yield from a sack of spuds, cut your chips thinner. I mean, they go a long way.
They do.
When you cut them through a smaller block.
They stack up in the box, like pickup sticks almost. And I think the misconception is French fries is a bit like your freezer shot, out of the freezer. There isn't. Doing this masterclass we've done with Stella, and you start talking to the actual growers and producers, there is such a phenomenal amount out there. And really, the fish and chip shop chip, let's go across Europe, is a very small part of it. The actual French fry, like the Belgians, that sort of thing, the technology they have in it and the quality of it is actually quite outstanding, really.
Yeah. Also, I think that fries tend to be loaded, which means if they're not as good as your chip shop chip, you normally cover them in something anyway. But yeah. I know that done right, a fry is it's a beautiful chip. I think it's you shouldn't mistake McDonald's fries as fries. They're more straw fries.
Yeah.
They're much thinner than what a fry actually is. They call them fries, but they're not really fries. Fries are, like I said, between 10 and 14 mil, and McDonald's aren't that thick.
Well, that's one on board. We've another 3 to go now.
I I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think it's generational change, isn't it? And it's really tapping into that younger market. I think it's really odd because as you were talking, for me, if I go out and have dinner, I will always have fries. I never have chips when I go out whenever I never ever eat chips when I'm out. I always go for fries. And I think you're right. It's that kind of, I don't know. I really enjoy a good quality fry. But McDonald's aren't quite up to standard in my opinion. They're quite a bit soggy now. But yeah, for me in our shop, I think it's definitely something I would look at. But like Mark says, we do batter chips. So doing batter chips for us is kind of like bringing in a third thing. I just think, first of all, I don't want to piss my team off because give them more work to do. But batter chips are just quite unique and people love that for us. So I think as long as that continues and we continue making them the best they can be, I think that's where we would stick to. But yeah, I do think that you could see, like a 50-50 change across the board coming in, maybe the next 5 to 10 years, really. Because I do think that the younger generation just want, they want to grab a bag of fries and off they pop, and yeah, they don't sit in anymore, do they? It's not it's not a kind of sit down meal. I know it is probably where you guys are, but for us, people come in, they'll grab 30 nuggets and a bag of chips and walk down the seafront.
If you're trying to find extra margin, extra profit as well, it makes a lot of sense because you just get more out of a sack as well. So a lot of people try and create extra business by adding kebabs or adding pizzas or adding something new to their menu, which inevitably means more staff, more capital outlay. A chipper block's like £200 or £300, and you've added something that could appeal to a whole generation of people.
So just to clarify the conversation, so I'm just trying to figure out which way it is. So David's thought process is the question: could we consider as an industry using frozen chips instead of raw chips, or is it what Mark's saying, using a thinner block and then still preparing?
Both for me.
Oh, okay. So is the whole premise then going over to a thinner chip as opposed to
basically.
Okay? So the premise is thinner chip,
alongside your traditional chip shop chip.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I would never serve fish with a fry.
So, for me, like I think I've done quite a lot of research over this because obviously, well, just look at me. So the research, the research was eating all the chips.
Oh no!
So like in my research, McDonald's is a 6mm by 6mm, KFC 7mm by 7mm, Burger King 8mm by 8. And I remember when I first started in the job, my dad was doing 11 by 14, and he swore by it because he said that it looked like what you said earlier. You get more singular chips out of one potato, and customers like the look of lots of chips. I think also thinner chips on the thinner side do taste better because I don't know, you've got a more crispier surface area, and there's one shop up north and they do a 17 by 21 chip, and you get a lot of potatoey flavour as opposed to, crispness. And, so for me, I'm not against the idea of going over to a thinner chip. I think for me, that whether it's frozen, whether it's chilled, whether it's pre-cut, I think the important thing is that customers are getting a really... What, Mark, you used to have this saying, crispy on the outside. Go on, tell us what the saying was. No, but go on, because it's important.
I'm going to get trained for this. As crispy on the outside as a £50 note, as fluffy on the inside as a summer cloud.
Yeah, that's what I think. And as long as a chip is like that is the perfect description, because I know you like your £50 notes. But for me, like, it doesn't matter how you sort of get there, but the important thing is to not lose track that what the younger generation really don't want is what the older generation seem fine with, and that is a soggy load of chips wrapped in paper. I think nobody wants that. I think, actually my wife probably likes that, but again, that's just that's a generational thing. So
if you ask a school kid now where they think chips come from, they won't say a field of potatoes, they'll say a freezer.
I would argue that if you asked a semi-grown adult that, they would answer the same thing too.
I think my question is just really to just provoke people to think, is that possible? And I think, you know, like as I said, we do the street food, and I heard what you say there, Matt, but we do the fry there, and it's a good fry, and we've never had anybody go, these are proper chips. Because I suppose it fits that bill, doesn't it?
So I know a shop that I supply bought an old F2F chipper with a crinkle cutter on it, with the crinkle cutter, and they were doing them fresh, and yet customers still said to him, "Oh, are they bought in because they were crinkle cut?" And he goes, "No, I've got the chipper out the back," and they wouldn't believe him. They were like, "No, they must be frozen." He was like, "No, like come in the back and have a look." And they were like, "We don't believe you." And he's like, "Just he said at least once a week I have to take a customer out the back to show them the chipper." So I think customers have this perception. And David, we've mentioned this before. You use pre-cut chips. Oh, both Davids do actually. So both David, and I bet you get the odd customer. You must get the odd customer say, "Oh, are they frozen?" because they come in a plastic bag.
No.
So, oh no,
I would love to use pre-cut chips.
No, we haven't.
We've had a few people have said, like, "Are they frozen chips?" And I said, "No, they're just prepped off site because it just saves it's more." Yeah, it's more sustainable for us, to be fair. Less mess, less stuff.
David Nicolau, what's your thought on this Chipgate issue?
It's not much I can... I mean, Mark's pretty much nailed it, to be fair. And you've got to move with the times, and if the demand, your customers demand a thinner cut chip, or even a frozen fry, I mean, you're going to have to give it them, because if not, you're going to become very quickly irrelevant. And you're right, I mean, our customers are the grey pound, at some point, they're all going to be gone, and the next generation is going to take over. So you have to talk to that generation. You have to give them what they want.
For me, I'd argue, and I've heard everyone's points, I think that, not like I'm concluding the matter, but I do think that the issue is crispness and freshness over chip size. I think, but I do think that, the chippers are there to go thinner if they want.
So are you saying a twice fried chip is much more superior than a straight through chip?
No. That is interesting though, because I've had great chips done both ways. So, like, for example, I've been to Papa's on a really good day, and their straight cut chip was awesome. I went to Burton Road Chippy, straight through. When I say straight cut, as in cooked straight through once, great chips. I go to Shea Fred's or Miller's and have a blanched chip. Been to Mark Protrusion, had a blanched chip, had a great chip. But I think I've been to Mark's when he's done a straight cut chip, and it's been great too. So I think there's great and crap everywhere you go, regardless of the process. Because I've seen blanched chips done absolutely terribly. So yeah, I think that, and also going back to the batter chip for a moment, since we've brought it up. I think one of the reasons why people love that batter chip is because it is beautifully crisp. You eat there's something about that coating that makes them, not just the coatings. I'm not trying to make, no, I'm not trying to do that. No, I'm not trying to do that, but I just meant physically the chip, like when you eat it, there's something about it. I wasn't trying to do that. So, but what I'm getting at is that what people like about that is the crispness. And I think, And I'm not 100%, but Kelly, would they stay warmer than a normal chip, by the way, if you were travelling with them? Just out of interest, because they've got another coating on them. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. I think
you eat them too fast, basically. You don't know the chip.
You know what, though? I'm going to say, it's not that I don't. I'm a northern girl, so for me.
Well, you're not. You're from the Midlands, all right? So
yeah, that's north for me. I live down south now. That's anything above Bristol is north now. I'm a traditional chip through and through. But for me, when I'm like, I just really want a crispy, like real crispy chip. I will go with a batter chip. Sometimes they're really moreish.
I think what customers crave,
a bit like heroin.
Yeah.
I think what customers crave, in my opinion, is any chip that we've discussed done right. They just don't want soggy. I just think that's... So whether it's... if blanched is your thing, or two-step process, if that's your thing, do it, but do it right. And me and David's going to discuss loads of alternative ways of doing that. And then if you're going to do it straight cut, then do that too. And I think, gone are the days where you just used to have like an old-style range, like a P&T, and just throw 11 kilos in, and just wait for the temperature to drop, and they'll just naturally come back up to 165, 170, and they're all floating, and you knew they were ready. You know, and I've even seen shops
Do you know-
do that wrong. So
Do you know what though? That's my favourite. I don't know if I should say this out loud. That's my favourite chip when you chuck a bucket in and then it all sticks to the paper and like that's my childhood. That is. That's how I was.
Miriam, my
how I-
wife, is exactly
Yeah.
like that. She says, I like my chips like that. But again,
Kelly,
that's because
you just said that you're grey pound.
you're great yeah. So
I am.
makes sense. Well, especially
Sorry.
she has been hobbling lately, so it makes sense.
I appreciate that because I think you're all on the same page, and I think it's just something to think about in the future.
Yeah,
that's all.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No,
So, Stel, you've been on holiday, haven't you?
I don't know if it was a holiday. It was a working holiday. Is that what you mean? I never stopped working. To be fair, if I went on holiday, I'd be working because I'm a sad twat.
Didn't really.
But now I
look
went
like
to
you were working
Norway.
me.
No, I was working. I've written one article already based on all my notes, so I've got another 2 to do and a podcast to do at some point.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, God, yeah.
Was there a hot tub?
No, there was not, David.
Oh, okay.
But you do really need to get over this fascination, young man. You really do. So Norway is great. It is great. You'd like it, David. You should go.
I should try. I shall try and win something, or just go myself.
I meant
I'll just pay
David
my
Miller.
own way.
I
Oh,
have
sorry.
been.
It's been.
Been
No,
twice.
I know. That's why I was taking the piss. Yeah, I know. So, no, it is nice. Like, you seeing that shit, like going on it and meeting the people. And look, obviously they're in sales mode. I know they're being hospitable, but they're in sales mode. Like, so, but you know, they know their stuff, and you should hope so. Actually, if you're going out on one of those ships, but yeah, you know, it was good. You know, Norway, just this experience meeting the people. It's different for me, I guess, because I can't possibly benefit like all the shops that went because, you know, I'm not going to buy fish. You know, I've not got a chip shop. So for me, I am really sort of, yes, I'm there, but I'm also more of an observer. So, but yeah, it was good. It was good. You know, just, it's nice that they care about their craft. Some, you know, I guess they were upset that they'd had some news not long ago, which has now come out, that they've got to drop their quota by 20% this year and 20% next year. So it's slightly over 40% because obviously it's 20% drop this year and 20% drop on this year's figures next year. So it's what, 48% or something. Yeah. So, and I think that there's some general noise over there as well that they're not happy that the Faroese are still doing a lot of business with the Russians. They're saying that's not right, you know, and they're saying that's not fair because it's only penalised. Everyone else has sort of followed the rules, but they've not had to for whatever reason. I never really understood. But overall, you know, they seem very proud of what they do and their product, and you know, it's nice to see, I guess. So, you know, in the spirit of going to places and all of that, I'm probably going to go to Isle of Ely as well because I know it's not as far as Norway, but you know, just to go out and see certain things, and I'm hoping you guys will all join me there, and girls, Kelly. So yeah.
I'll be there.
But if you want to ask me anything about Norway, I'm an expert, mate. Like anything.
If
How do
you
you
all
say
make
good,
the
how do you
journey-
say good morning then?
That I didn't get. I just said good morning. Like,
Well, in Ely, you go, morning.
Morning.
If you all make the pilgrimage, I'll lay on a Bedworth kebab for everyone.
I'll just bring one with me. I'll just borrow someone's pickup truck.
No, I'm going to go. I'm going to take, I think maybe 2 of my young fish fryers that are going in for the awards this year. So,
Kelly, is anyone from your management team coming?
I don't know. My nephew's suddenly announced that he's getting married on the Saturday, so we were going to go, and then we've got. I don't know because they're.
Why
based
doesn't
in
he get married at Isle of Ely? That'd be great.
Well,
Just might as well use it.
big space. You get lots of people in there.
Yeah, so we're. I'm not quite sure yet whether we're going to make the trip or not. We didn't go last year, so we may or may not. It depends on how much of a heavy evening.
On whether the Poet's House has got your favourite room.
They haven't, and I've already checked. I'm raging, and I'm definitely not staying at the Lamb.
I tell you what, though, that Austin, I thought genuinely that I know he likes his job. You can tell he's passionate about the industry, but like he will literally go to like the buffet lounge and get potatoes and lob them in the bin, so they have to bring more out. Like he is so pro potato. Like any excuse, like he's eating crisps. I'm like, oh, you like crisps? He goes, it's good to eat crisps because they're potatoes. I was like, oh, I get it, Austin. Like, he loves potatoes. Like, if there was a potato salad, he's eating it because if you eat it, they've got to replenish it. Yeah. Like, I think deep down, he's obsessed with potatoes. Like, I really do think so. Like, and he won't even mind me saying this because he's pro potato. We should get him a T-shirt that says that. Actually, we have been.
I love Morrissey on the front, and I love potatoes on the back.
Yeah,
Morrissey Piper.
Morrissey. We have been thinking about getting some T-shirts done as merchandise. One of them is "Fire in Your Belly," and that comes from Jeff Whitehead's podcast. What was the other one? There was another one recently. I can't remember. What was it, David Nicolau? It was in our group, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Oh, come on, mate. You slept since then.
I'm not getting involved in this.
Why? It's all good news. But no, he loves potatoes through and through. Like, and he was saying if everyone did what I did, imagine how many more potatoes we'd consume. That's so true. If imagine at every buffet, you just went up to the crisps and put them in the bin. Like, you just be like, I've got to bring more out, haven't they? So,
Has anyone listened to our masterclass podcasts on potatoes?
I thought it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Good.
I've listened to all of them. I thought they were all. It was such a gift. If you're in this business and you don't listen to it and get something from it, you're not in this business. You can't be.
Yeah, well,
it's been interesting, hasn't it? We've got a master of the dark arts this afternoon, haven't we?
Oh, that was the other T-shirt. The dark
It's a dark art.
It's a dark art. That was the other T-shirt. Oh, there we go. We got there. So, but no, the thing is, they started off a bit slow, if we're honest, like the first and second one, because we've got so much notes. We're note heavy. How do you make that flow? And to be fair to David, he broke off my thinking pretty fast. I was quite organised, and he was like, no, just leave it to me, and I'm going to do my bit. And he just broke off, and actually it's made it better for it because, he's found his flow, and I've sort of just go as I did anyway. But I thought, well, if I get David to think like me, will be great. Whereas actually David's like, no, just tell me what I've got to do, and we'll just go with it. And we've now found our feet, and interviewing people has been great because David does his homework just as I do, and I don't know, it's just two different people asking someone questions, and we've got one today, haven't we, David?
Yeah.
And we've got one on Thursday. So today we've got a guy from Maya Potato Seed, because we don't know anything about potato seed as an industry. And after talking to John Bone, who told us potato seed is pretty much a dark art, we thought, well, we want to find out more, don't we? So then Austin...
I think we should just have John Bone on talking about life, because
he was great. He was great.
Who have you got with you from May? Is it the chap that was at Isle of Ely?
I don't know. His name's Terry, so it might be. Oh. And Austin put us in touch with him, and he got back straight away.
Because there was an absolutely fantastic talk on the bus when we were going to the fields last year.
Okay.
And that guy was amazing.
Maybe it is the same guy. But
it could well be.
Because Austin put us in touch with him, which was great. So I just messaged Austin and said, look, we're in need of somebody who does this. And he goes, give me a minute. And he just put us in touch straight away.
You had me at bone and seed. I mean,
there's a lady in the room. And there might even be one listening.
No, it's all right, Les. We're okay. Don't worry.
And then we've also got Stuart Mitchell on Thursday, and he's been putting us off for a few weeks. He needs to sort out all the contract stuff, and he said that's all settled now, so we should have some news on that. But yeah, I don't think we're quite over the potato segment yet. It's a lot longer than what I expected. Me and David a few weeks ago sat down to plan the next segment, but this potato one, I guess because of the timing as well, it just seems to be lingering, to be honest. But it's fine.
It's great stuff.
Biggest seller in your shop, though, so why shouldn't you?
No, we're going to give it the attention it deserves, aren't we? Yeah. And, and we'll move. I think logically the next thing, it's frying them, I think. And but we'll see. We've got a lot of plans, don't we, David? I just do what the boss says. I turn up and do what the boss says. I just, How
are you going to find someone to talk about frying them?
I don't know. There's a guy over. Well, to be fair, we should probably have a masterclass with both the tutors in this group at some point. I can just switch the mic off and listen. But
cutting fish. I'm really good at cutting fish.
I'm really not.
So, but no, these masterclasses, when you do them, and then you see comments in the groups. Like, you almost want to keep saying, "Oh, listen to this masterclass," and you think, you know what? After I repeat it a few times, I'm just like. You just don't. But Mark, you was a little irate about a comment you saw on the podcast, not the podcast group, on the Fish and Chip group, weren't you?
I was, yeah. I hope I don't stand alone on this. I hope you kind of back me up. It was a perfectly genuine comment. I think it was well intentioned, but for me, it just didn't didn't make any sense to me. I'm just going to get it from my my photos and read it to you. It says, but basically, for those of you serving gluten-free products, do you have a separate pan or oil for cooking them, or do you just offer gluten-free on oil change day? That's the phrase that I have a problem with. It was by Kenny Bale, who's a terrific member, really determined to be the best that he can be in the job. I have no problem with Kenny at all. I thank him for putting a good question out there. So it's not even a problem with that. It is the oil change day thing that I have an issue with. Who does oil change day? For me, changing your oil, it's the idea of throwing old oil away and starting the week with, on a particular day with brand new oil it's a concept I can't really subscribe to. Can't get my head around it. I just think that you need to manage your oil all the time. Keep it in a sweet spot where it's got just a little bit of colour. It's nice and fresh, nice and clean, and you produce a consistent product day in, day out. Oil change day to me says I wait until my oil gets really knackered and then I throw it away and then I start with brand new oil. Well, that's going to give you a different product as the oil gets worse and worse and worse. And that's not how I run my pans. It's not how I manage my oil. I like to give my customers the same product, last thing on a Monday, first thing on a Friday, same colour, same quality, same consistency. That's like ordering a Big Mac and it not having 3 bits of pickle, too much lettuce, and being lukewarm. You know what you get every time you buy a Big Mac. Well, I want people to get the same fish and chips from me. I don't want to serve something that's dark and manky on one day and then anemic and disguised by the flavour of brand new oil the next day. What's everyone's thoughts on it?
Do you think, Mark? And I don't know this guy, so I might be being very rude, and that's not what I'm trying to do. But I think even now there's still a slight ignorance on the customer side as well as with people within the industry that think that's how you do things. I think people, if you told a customer that you never change your oil, they wouldn't. Obviously, you'd go into greater detail, but they wouldn't understand. They'd be horrified, right? Yeah. There's a lot of education to be done, I think, to people to understand. And obviously, you're great. That's what you do. Part of your living is to educate people in that. And I think there's some people do things in such an old-fashioned way. I'm not saying that's right. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting that people still go down that route, right? I want to make it clear. I've got no problem with Kenny at all. I
think you made that clear. To be fair, no, you're challenging the sentence, not the process. Yeah,
it's the practice of oil change day that I've always had an issue with.
So I see this a lot now, and I follow a lot of shops through our Sarah's account, and you see a lot of people saying, "Oh, we've changed our oil today." I see some people doing it daily. There was a shop I went to in London, and the waste management company came in, the oil waste guy came in, and they were the happiest people you've seen. And I couldn't believe it. And I says, "Oh, you're happy?" Because bear in mind, most people in London are probably 30% moodier than anyone else in the country, yeah? And these guys are dealing with waste oil, so you'd think they'd be pissed off with that too. And it was summer. And they just says to me, "We come here every day to collect oil."
Wow.
Yeah. And this shop was binning oil every day, starting fresh every day. Groundnut oil. Mark, how much is groundnut oil these days? Yeah, it's always been more expensive than everything else, Yeah. So... And I think for me, anything I've learned about oil management and frying over the years, and obviously working for my dad back in the day, but technical things since leaving, day one oil, for me, is as bad as spent oil. Yeah. Like that. You know what it's like sometimes when, I don't know, if you ever drop water in a pan, you've got to get rid of it. Yeah, and you start with a fresh pan. You don't want to start with a fresh pan. You take a bit of oil from another pan and you separate it out, because you do not ever want to start with 100% day one oil. But yeah, for me as a technical person, because I'm not a fryer anymore like you guys, I couldn't think of anything worse than frying with day one oil. I don't think I'd want to fry with, crap oil like that. It's that sweet spot. It's the golden rule. It's McDonald's, they've got like a chart, and it says that they want to work with day 2 oil to day 7 oil. Yeah, but they don't want day 1 oil, and they don't want day 10 oil. And you think, so because you're constantly replenishing. So the key thing is replenishing and filtering, and I think, but again, this misconception's got out there, and people now think, and maybe it became a sales patter. Oh, we change our oils every day. And now it's probably become an operational thing because someone saw the sales pattern and thought, oh, that must be true. Who knows? I don't know where it's come from, but I know no trade organisation or no training schools teaching that. So I don't know how it's become practice.
Can I just come in there, Stella? We use beef dripping, which I suppose is a bit more robust, and we actually don't change our oil. We just keep topping up, and it's always really clear. Not that means it's in good nick. You can have clear oil, and it can actually be decaying. If you were to say, leave your, let's say you were a seasonal shop and you had brand new oil and left it for 6 months, it would have gone because of oxygen. But the main thing is, I think the sweet spot, the technical point, and I think you might agree with me, Mark, is that what's called the total polar material. So that's what's TPM. So you'll hear me say TPM. So it roughly starts off around 6-7 TPM. What you need to fry fish and chips is it to actually break down. So you actually need it to start to turn over. The sweet spot is between 10 and 18 TPM. Once it starts to go over that, it's like a roller coaster. It starts to get away from you. So that the art is keeping it between that 10 and 18. And that's what you're saying, aren't you, Mark? That sweet spot. Yeah. And it is a parameter. But once it starts to push up, it's away from you very quickly. And again, cascading, frying low, all these sort of things help you maintain it in that sweet spot. And that is an art in itself. And, as you all know, I'm old now and done it for a long time. And you learn this. And to actually teach new people how to do it, it takes ages for them to get it. And then all of a sudden the penny drops in.
The way to achieve it is to have the right number of pans on per shift. Yeah. If you've got too many pans on, you're knackering your oil. It's about having the right levels, because you can have a maximum level and a minimum level. So you need to keep your levels moderate. You don't want too much oil in your pans at the start of the week, and then you can pull the oil back by bulking it out towards the end of the week, and then you run it down at the weekend to start the quiet start of the week on lower levels again. So there's loads of different techniques that you can use to keep your oil in that sweet spot. And I thank Kenny for making us able to talk about it. And I'm sure when you get to the oil part of the masterclasses, rotation and management, it is really individual. There's lots of techniques, but you apply them to whether your shop is chip heavy, fish heavy, what products you sell, what your opening times are. It is very individual, and teaching oil management is a skill that, there are set rules, but you have to apply them to your own individual outlet.
Absolutely.
And I think it's key. You cannot have the best fish, best chips, best fryer if that oil is no good. You're wasting your time.
Can I just finish off by saying that, because I do want to answer Kenny's question as well, is that I would just have a dedicated pan for gluten-free. I wouldn't just do
one. Yeah,
and just keep all your utensils and everything, keep it all separate. It's very hard to have a gluten-free day. I'd rather have a dedicated pan, and then you can offer it all the time, because the gluten-free member of the family decides where everyone eats. So if you're catering for a gluten-free person, you're getting the whole family as well. I hope that helps, Kenny.
David Nicolaou, do you want to?
Not much more I can, really. It's a bit of a theme, isn't it, with me today? I think the most valuable piece of kit that we've got is the testo that tells you how good your oil is. And, you're right, you've got to keep it in that window and cascade across. So you don't want to be... I mean, we've had times when the oil, something's happened, some water's gone in the pan, we've had to start from scratch. But it's horrid because you're having to second-guess everything. The colour's wrong. You're having to, things end up getting overcooked probably, and it's a real struggle. So I don't know how they do that every week. You just want to keep it.
Well, and a lot of them do it every day, all week from scratch. So they won't even carry over any used oil from another pan. So
it's just a massively variable product then, isn't
believe it or not, one person...
when you filter... Sorry,
go on, David. No, go on,
mate. When you filter, let's say you do a testo test and it's saying 15. If you filter, you can pull it back maybe to 14, 13 and a half just by filtering.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
I'd say one of the things I learnt a lot from one chap I learnt a lot from is a chap called Brent Watson, and I'm hoping Mark's going to get him on a podcast at some point. If he doesn't, I will, or we'll both have him on. I was at his shop a few times, and he's got a very simple trick. He's got a very old traditional range, which is very well looked after and maintained, but he's got a stainless steel ruler, and every day he goes through all his pans and just puts the stainless steel ruler in, sees what the level is. He'll look at the colour and say, well, it's a Tuesday, so I'm going to use these 2 pans today. And then he'll top up by X amount because he knows how much it needs. Because every day you want to replenish by 30%. So he really understands that business through and through. He knows how many chips he's going to sell, how many fish he's going to sell. And he knows what his pans are like, what conditions they're in. And I think, to be honest, there aren't many fryers like him today. There really aren't, because what's happened is a lot of people have invested in all new frying ranges. Everyone in this group actually has modern frying ranges, and yet he's got a traditional frying range knocking out fantastic product, and brilliant fish and chips. And he's proper old school, but he understands what he's doing, So when I saw him managing his oils, and he's got a filtration machine, but he'll filter twice a day, lunchtime and evening. I think he might even do it first thing in the morning as well. So it might be 3 times. The shop's open 22, 23 hours a week, Mark. It's something ridiculous, isn't it? But he's not far from you, David. He's in a little village called Kexborough in Barnsley. So tiny little shop, and really does a great product, but really old school fryer. He's got systems that work, and I think because you mentioned the testo, what I wanted to just sort of say is that you can have that, and I think it is really good, but it's also having the basics right too, really understanding those basics.
Yeah, just all that does is give you an idea. Well, it gives you an exact amount where it allows you to hone it in. And the other thing that you've got to make sure is that all that carbon at the end of the service is filtered out and those pans are clean. Yeah. And there's so many people that just filter the oil and then throw it back in.
There's such a huge misconception about carbon as well. A lot of people say, carbon ruins the oil because it's in the oil. Well, it's not only that. It's because it's black, and carbon then creates heat spots throughout the oil, which is something I only learned a year ago. Because there's just there's so many reasons why following the basic rules just makes complete sense.
It superheats, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's say your pan's at 180, that carbon floating about might be 210.
Yes.
That breaks down at 200 period, so you've got little sparklers going off all the time. Minute, I know, but that a lot of that carbon in it will be breaking your fat down.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
And so many people say to me, I filter in the morning. I'll go, why? Because obviously the carbon settles to the bottom. What does the heat hit straight away? All the carbon.
Yeah.
Why would you leave that in your oil overnight?
That's the other thing. You're leaving it for that cooling period from 185, let's say, to, 18. And it's just, you've almost stewed that oil in crap, But again, this is why some people end up throwing it away daily or weekly, because they're not following the basics, without being rude. So, yeah. No, this is a topic we could talk about forever, I think. And but there's more pressing things. We now have a new government. You know,
he's been saving all his words. You know, he's been
I can just see David Nicolaou's about to just go. He's just holding it. But so we did actually, for the benefit of the listener, we did actually record this just before the election, and then we had technical issues. So now we're recording it after. So we have a slight different take on everything. So anyone positive, worried? You know, they say it was a landslide. I'm not sure if we actually look at it now, whether it was so much a landslide. You know, I think, if I'm honest, I think yes, Labour won, but it was definitely the Conservatives' loss. They got mullered. SNP got absolutely battered. Labour won a magnificent win, but they got less votes than they did for their 2019 loss. So, you know, I think it's the state of the times. So is everyone feeling a bit more optimistic, or are we just happy to have a fresh start? They've got a majority. What's everyone's thoughts? Should we let David go first? Go on.
No, I'll reserve my contrarian opinion that is probably not very popular. I'll let everybody else have a say. Go on. You tell me your thoughts.
Tell us a little bit of your thoughts. Give us a glimpse.
He can't.
Oh, there's got to be all of it or none of it. Look,
you open the tap, the dam's going to break.
I think I have a very unpopular opinion that you aren't seeing that we have a uniparty. There's not two parties there. There's one party, and it's got a left and right wing, and it's the same bird. And what you've seen is an orderly handover of power from one wing to the next wing, and an orderly move into opposition, because we have such a tight consensus of opinion that we're not allowed to ask certain questions, like there's no referendum on net zero. Does anybody want to get incredibly poor while China's getting incredibly rich and building a power station every week? No one's asking you about that. No one's asking you whether or not you want to drive a petrol car in the next few years. They're telling you you're going to have an EV.
But just on that note, for example, if they got voted in with a majority, and like we did explain that it's less votes than...
Who got voted in? Sorry.
Labour, they've got voted in with a majority, you know. Yeah. Regardless of, you know, all the other stuff, they've got voted in. That's their mandate. Surely they should be allowed to pursue it. And also, China's an authoritarian country with a dictator, so they don't have votes on stuff like that.
Well, no, Saudi Arabia's not going net zero. Most of the East aren't going net zero. It's a passion project to the West, and it's probably the biggest self-harm that you could probably do to yourself. I mean, the £1 trillion that we're going to have to spend.
Okay, so if we just
to decarbonise. So let me just so. I think what people don't understand is we call it a general election, yeah? But it's actually 600 individual elections. So they've got 20% of the vote share, but that vote share is concentrated in such a way that you'll get 400 MPs. Whereas Reform, I think, you know, they're the second biggest vote share above the Tories.
Correct.
But they only got 4 MPs. The Tories got 110 because of the concentration of the vote share, because you are having 600 small elections. And the system's very good at protecting itself. There was tactical voting going on to lock out other parties and lock out Reform. So
yeah, but the tactical voting, in some ways, the tactical voting helped Reform, and it definitely helped Lib Dems, because because there's a lot of people that voted.
Well, hold on.
There's a lot.
How can you be the second biggest vote but get the least number of MPs? That doesn't help me at all.
No, but what I'm saying is there is a lot of people that voted for Lib Dem and Reform and these other ones, Heritage and such. Because they wanted to bloody the nose of the Conservatives.
Absolutely. So, but the Conservatives aren't Conservatives anymore.
Well, but Labour's not a Labour anymore either. They're not all.
And we'll go back to that. The chap from UK Hospitality. I can't remember his name.
Alan.
I'm sorry. Alan said that the political system works best for the centrist parties, the people that get closer to the centre.
But that's because the appetite, in my opinion, this is just opinion, it's not fact. We've never had a full left or a full right government in the UK. It's never.
You never will.
But that's because of the appetite of the people. It's not because the system protects it. It's because
I think you're wrong. I think the system protects it. Because if we wanted,
right, so
we'd have to have a proportional representative system to have any change, because the first past the post system does not allow.
But if you go over to
anything other than
proportional
census.
representation, nothing good ever happens. Look at what's just happened. Well, because look at what's just happened in France to some degree. Look at what happens in Cyprus every time they have elections. You know, because what happens is, let me give you an example in Cyprus. They have an election, and then they start doing all these backroom deals, and next thing you know, all the votes that were done, all these little parties have all negotiated little deals with the bigger party, and then all those good ideas that were represented initially become nothing, and then everyone just holds on to power. Now, and also, I always find that the argument between these two voting systems only comes in after someone didn't win. No one ever talks about it when someone wins.
But again, you've got to say, I don't believe there's a winner and a loser. It's the system just flips.
So anyway, we've gone global, which is always a bit of fun. We'll save this for read the news or the news review.
Well, I don't know if I've just finished off what I was saying. I don't know if you saw Rachel Reeves' post in The Guardian that basically said that the economy's in the worst state that it has been
which we
since
knew anyway,
the war.
but yeah.
Which we knew anyway, but now they've got access to all the Treasury statistics. So I can't believe they don't get access to everything beforehand. But she's gone in first day and said, "Oh, it's
to be fair, they were posted the week before the election because I saw them out of them. A guy that's coming on the podcast sent it to me a week before the election, so they must have had access. So
yeah, they must have done. But obviously now they've just gone public with it. But you know, the whole system is, as I say, it's just an orderly handover of power from one block to another block, and that's that. Nothing's going to change.
So if
you're going to get a shit sandwich, and it's going to be a guy in a red tie delivering it as opposed to a guy in a blue tie.
So
and that's your choice.
How do we see it? So if we move back from the global scene, how do we see it working for our industry? Any concerns or positives? You know.
I think people are buoyant. People have. I think we were talking about this before we started recording. That we've seen a major uptick in trade from sort of Wednesday to Saturday so far. So I don't know. People are probably, anybody but the Tories, I think, would have been welcome. They've had 14 years worth of power and just pretty much squandered it. They've done very little. But this is the whole point. There's nothing gets done. We're in a state of managed decline.
But they can't.
And that's where
now we can punish these guys because, and I don't know what you guys think of this, because they actually have a mandate and a majority, so they can. Whereas,
and let's see what gets done.
Well, and I saw a really interesting tweet on Twitter the other day, and it said one thing Labour never do is waste the majority. They use their power very efficiently.
Well, let's see what happens.
Well, no, what we'll see is whether it's for good or whether it's for bad. They'll do something. Well, it's just whether the outcome is good or bad. What's everyone's thoughts on day one employment rights, which look set to happen? Anyone thought about this?
Well, everybody's got...
The HR team's on speed dial.
Everybody's got rights, haven't they? So if you're doing it correctly and whatever, you've nothing to worry about.
Well, the problem is, here's where one of the issues is, David, is that even if you're doing it right, let's say you employ John, and John turns up on day one, he's late. Day two, he goes home because he's poorly, apparently, and you send him home whatever. Day three, he can't be asked. Day four, you think, you know what, this ain't working. What you do at this point is you have to sit down, and you have to have like an appraisal, and you have to sit down and say, get the HR people involved and say, this is gross misconduct, blah, blah, blah. You don't seem happy here. He can then appeal this process and say, well, actually, I think I'm doing fine, thanks. And then you've got to get like a performance review. But while this is all happening, you're still paying him and dealing with all this. And for anybody listening to this, I'm not referring to anybody specific. He's just a general made-up person. Whereas now, any of that happens, you can just say on Wednesday, look, mate, this ain't working out for us. See you later. As long as you don't get rid of somebody that's got a protected designation, What's your thoughts, Kelly?
You still have to bring him in for a meeting. You can't just get rid of him. That's the way it is now. You still have to sit down with them and ask them if they're okay and if there's anything going on. So that from my HR team, which is what you can't just get rid of people.
So
now.
I use the same HR company as you, Kelly. Yeah, just a different department. And last year I had somebody that was very similar to John, who I just mentioned. And I got them out straight away, and that HR team
that's very interesting.
Yeah, but different with different regions, I guess. So, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I guess it depends on who, you use. But I suppose I'm just very, I don't know. But do you know what? I'm going to hold my hand up. Politics is not my bag. Okay. Yeah, before the election, I sat down, and there's a website that got created called Simple Politics. It may be completely ignorant because I'm in business and we can sit here and pretend that I know what I'm talking about, but I don't.
It's good to break it down because they do use a lot of fancy words to confuse us all.
Yeah, and I looked, so I read through. Basically, it was a bit like my daughter said. So basically, you voted like you're on Tinder. I was like, no, I didn't. I looked at what I think I would like for my country, knowing that it wasn't going to make a blind bit of bloody difference anyway.
Did you swipe right or swipe left?
Left. I don't know what that means, but left.
Can I just jump in? I'm going to make one last point. Okay. So all the data that they've got about growth and everything is based on GDP. Are you happy with that? Yeah, the gross domestic product. Okay. Mm-hmm. The gross domestic product at this moment in time is. There's a deflate. I'm going to just try and get this out as quickly as I can. It includes a deflationary aspect. So if inflation's running at 10%, GDP is running at 12%, growth's running at 12%, your net GDP is 2%. Now the problem is, I know from my background in economics and how they've changed the numbers that the inflation isn't running at 7%, 8%, 9%. It was never at 13%. It was around 30%. And you can prove that by the price of gold. Gold's a fantastic tracker of inflation, and gold's gone up 78% since 2016, 2017. So in that period, our economy or the purchasing power was shot, sort of being eroded by 70% roughly. So we're probably in a negative GDP. We could well be, the economy could have shrunk 20% in real terms because GDP also includes government spending. So they spend more on welfare, spend more on hospitals, spend more on benefits. That adds to GDP. So you can print your way, and all the money that they're spending on GDP, the government, is printed out of thin air. So you can print your way out of recession if you want. So they say, well, technically not in a recession, but the economy is shrinking. Now, Labour probably now have to deal with this. So everything that they want to do in terms of taxation, they've got the backdrop of the fact that the economy is probably shrinking. So I'd be very interested to see what happens next because they've made the promises. Now they've got to pay for it. And I don't think that there's the money's there because the last thing I'm going to say is the money supply is broken and that needs fixing. So it's like you've got a hole in the roof, it's raining, and you're more worried about mopping up than fixing the roof. They need to fix the hole in the roof before they start mopping up. In
fairness to Rishi Sunak, he's been saying there is a problem for a while and no one's listening.
Yes.
And Labour used to scoff at him when he used to say this. They're going
to find out now.
And now they're going to find out, and they can't blame him. Well, they will, obviously. We're always going to hear, we've inherited this. Every government said this that took over. So, and the Conservatives have said it, and, when they took over from Tony Blair, and everyone always says this, and in every country.
And not wishing to be slightly more boring, but there's a little ratio called debt to GDP, and it's about how much country's debt there is as to how much it earns. And the GDP figures, bananas anyway. It's not even real. It's made up and manipulated. We are now anything from 97% of our GDP is debt, or to 109%, depending on how you count it. When Greece hit 75, 78%, we declared them bankrupt. They can't come back from it. They had to devalue the currency. We had to go and send the Europeans in to carve up the place. We are well beyond that point, yet no one's talking about it. So I don't know. I think we're just very good at ignoring the problems that we've got.
I did write an article the other day, and it actually does. And you've probably not read it yet, David, but it does say that our debt payments are now more than our defence budget in the UK.
Yeah.
So
and it's growing because what 600 billion net this year? We have to print that out of thin air.
Watch it grow more. So
but that is getting towards collapse.
But I think
that's a very unpopular thing to say, and it's, because we all get poorer.
But I think that the fact is, we're all going to have to accept we are going to be a little poorer, except for employees who are going to be getting £11.88 an hour.
Well, again, this happened in France. I mean, you see what's happened in France this morning. They want to put a 90% tax on wealthy people. And they tried it before and they all buggered off.
Mark.
They also tried these day zero labour laws.
It's a good job Mark
and that failed as well.
Because he'd be in trouble.
He'd be out burning sheep.
No, but what we've got to do is good at like talking about it on a global level. But the problem is the average person doesn't give a toss about it. This is the problem. The average person cares about what happens to their wage packet. Can they buy a house? Can they pay the bills? Can they pay for electric and gas? I get it all comes from there.
But there's an old saying that says you can ignore the event, but you can't ignore the consequences.
I get you. But I mean, you can see, like, in the population, they just glaze over. They just
absolutely.
They care about when they go
like you guys have.
Well, they care about them, but this is why the politicians generally get away with stuff, because no one cares about the big things. They just care about the little things. Mark,
it's an enormous elephant in the room. Go for it, Mark. Sorry.
Are you calling Mark the enormous elephant in the room?
I wish I had a trunk. I'm going to bring this right.
Where you pull your trouser pockets out? No, I'm not going to do that at all.
I'm going to bring this down to a real basic local level because I've been able to vote in the general elections of this country for 34 years, and every time I voted the people into power that got into power. So I really felt as though I was using my vote effectively.
You were the reason they won. Then. He's the reason they won.
I've been a floater. This time I didn't vote. Wow. And because I looked at it really long and hard. My wife went and voted, and she wasted her vote. And she didn't vote Tory. She wasted her vote.
Monster Raven Looney.
No. I look back at the last 34 years, and not at one point have I said, I've fed my kids, I've paid my bills, I've progressed my career, my standard of living because of who I voted for. Not once have I thought to myself, this particular party or that particular party have done what I've wanted them to do. I really feel as though the political parties that are in power don't listen to the electorate. They get voted in and then they do what they fucking please.
Spot on.
Because if I had access to number 10 and I could phone them up, I would say, have you seen the state of the roads? Have you how come I've got no street lights? How come when somebody commits a crime against me, I phone the police and I don't see anyone for 4 days?
Why can't I get any fucking staff?
Yeah, where's my tax money going? So I thought,
Ukraine. This
time, I'm not going to vote because I'm now a moaning old man. And whoever moans about the price of chips, whoever moans about anything, I can say, who did you vote for? Well, it's your fucking fault then. Because if I didn't vote for anyone, it's not my fault. And I'm pretty sure that whoever gets into power, I am going to prevail because of what I've done for the last 50 odd years. Anything that I've got in my life is because I did it, not because the government helped me to do it, not because of who I voted in. And so I'm now working on the basis that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I vote one way or the other. I'm still going to get on because of who I am and what I make of it. So when it comes to politics now, I don't want to blame. I don't want to make excuses. I just want to make the best of it, no matter what, whoever it is. And that's how I took my view on the election. Now, plus, you needed ID. Plus, it was a waste of time getting off my arse and going and voting because I knew who was going to win anyway. So,
all I know is if I hear the saying "country first, party second" one more time, I'm going to vomit in my own mouth.
The amount of times I've said this week already, look at the weather. Bloody Labour government.
I know.
It's ironically we've got a friend who's a pilot RAF up in Leeds. And,
he's also a fish and chip shop owner, to be fair.
Is that his name?
Is
Is his name Pilot Raph?
Yes, Raphael. And I think about 3 minutes after they announced the election that the runway in Leeds East was closed.
Yeah.
And he put a rant on, didn't he, say, where effing Starmer does nothing working, Labour has broken Britain. I don't know, some of the engines had dumped on the runway or something, but I thought it was great timing that, mate. It was fantastic to switch the blade.
Did anybody see the Newsnight? That great comment with the guy stood up and his question. No. And he basically said...
Question time, you mean?
He said, yeah, question time, yeah. And he said to both of them on the lectern, he said, are you two really the best we've got to vote for?
In fairness, I did watch that. And you know what? Like, I felt like pointing him to America. Like I'm not being funny. Like, you know, everyone makes a mockery of the UK all the time. In America, we've got two guys, one that's really angry and one that can barely walk up a podium without falling off and remembering his name.
Like your granddad and your great-granddad.
Yeah, exactly. He looks like he's already got Alzheimer's. The French nearly set fire to the fucking Capitol the other week. Yeah, like literally, they literally spray painted everything. Like there was riots. And the UK does things pretty orderly. You know, I know David thinks it's planned orderliness, but it's still orderly. We're quite polite about things. There's always the next day, no one's holding up the house at, bloody, forgot what it's called now.
Storming the Capitol.
Yeah, like we don't have none of this crap. And yet, apparently, we're the mockery to Europe and America and China. You know, I don't get why the British, we always do this thing where we make ourselves look really bad. Whereas actually, we just sort of get on with things. Yeah, we take the piss out of ourselves and we hold ourselves to a high standard. But we don't set fire to the fucking Capitol. No one, even with all the Palestinian Gaza riots kicking off, in Israel, like, I don't think there was loads of damage, was there? Like, no. I think, and also, we get these oil protesters, don't use oil, whatever it's called. And
just stop oil.
Yeah, that's it. And, and they paint things yellow with vegetable oil or whatever, or orange. But if you look in France, the amount of damage they've caused, like,
I don't think that's the French that's rioting, though.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't. Well, I know they look pretty French with their flags and they were hanging off a bloody building,
Don't know where. I think it's
You sure you weren't watching Les Mis?
It feels like that, I swear.
And the barricades.
But all I know is I saw a guy waving about his baguette.
Just to come back to Mark about I think the government has to create the culture for businesses to thrive. And if you throw an anchor around your business, I don't care how busy you are, I don't care how good you are at what you do, if you can't thrive in that market, then it's a drag on your business. And not only that, but if the money supply is broken, Mark, unless you've got huge amounts of gold and silver stacked away somewhere, which is
he's all right.
You're gonna struggle because everyone's pensions are locked into the system that we exist in. So if they break that system, then everybody gets poorer. And for what you've worked for, retirement is in trouble.
Yeah. But look,
yeah, I am more worried about the idea of employees having rights from day one. I won't keep this person anonymous. I took somebody on 2 weeks ago who has nagged me for a job for ages and ages and ages. And in the end, I gave in. But I said to them, "You've got a 3-week trial. You've got 2 shifts a week, so 6 shifts. If you're not impressing me by the end of that," and I gave them the criteria of what I needed them to be able to do, giving them training, there isn't a job. If you can't do the job, I haven't got a job for you. So I've given them a 3-week trial. At the end of week one, after 2 shifts, they came to me and said, "By the way, going forward, my availability is Tuesday, Friday and Saturday."
Yeah.
Like, you've nagged me for months. And then, so I already know at the end of their trial, they're out the door. Yeah. They're down the street because you've just become 50% less valuable to me because you can only work 3 of the 6 days that I'm open.
Yeah.
it worries me that there are people amongst us that will be able to walk into a job, have all the rights of being a valuable member of staff, and actually not actually be a valuable.
I think
member of
the overall
this happened. This was introduced in France, and after about 6 months, people stopped hiring. They just made do with what they got. They closed more shifts. They work less. They were open less hours and just made do with the staff they got because they just weren't hiring, and it got rolled back. So I don't know if they're looking at France, and I don't know if they're going to try and do the same thing. But it was a massive drag on business.
I don't think they're going to look at that. I think they've got the mandate, they've got the union support. They're not going to want to piss them off. Yeah. I think they're going to go as extreme as they can, maybe then roll back a little bit because why not? And then carry on later on. And 5 years down the road, it's all unrecognisable anyway. But I do think that it is going
positive, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, sorry, mate. But I do think it's going to be, and this is what I said to you on the phone the other day. We were having a private conversation on the phone, and I said to you, I'm not overly worried, but just get HR'd up. Like Kelly introduced me to a company called HR Department. They are franchises all over the country. I gave you the same one for your area.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, it's if there's lots of these companies, and the good thing with HR Department, you can either go pay as you go if you've not got a lot of staff retention issues, but if you've got lots of staff, you just pay monthly and there's no contract, and which is what Kelly introduced me to. They're brilliant, and I think we're just going to have to play by a new set of rules. It's going to be more expensive to have staff, and it's going to be slower to get rid of them. That's the reality.
Okay.
And if that's the reality, and we're in business, we've got to play by those rules.
Well, you have to see what they propose because I can't remember. I'm sorry, I've forgotten his name. The chap from UK Hospitality.
Alan.
Is it?
Why'd you keep
Alan,
forgetting his name? He's going to be really offended with you.
No, I'm sorry. It was lovely.
He doesn't care. Like,
he doesn't know. He seemed to be rather positive that the rules weren't going to be onerous. So let's see.
But again,
see what comes.
If he's left leaning anyway. And he's not a business person.
But I didn't realise that listening to him. Actually, when I looked at his bio, I realised he was. But
again,
it's a good interview.
Yeah,
by the way.
because
really
he'd never step over the line because of Purda. So, and I think that's where you can't.
I thought Purda was only for ministerial.
Well, no, it's for big organisations, and they're classed as a big organisation. So, he said to me, "Look, he goes, I'd never do that anyway." He goes, "I'm not like that," and I don't think he did. He didn't step over the line. But the point is, let's just say that if his mindset is left leaning and he works for organisations as opposed to owns them, then him saying it wouldn't be onerous probably doesn't put a lot of faith in it because he's a worker, not an owner. If owners start telling me it's not going to be onerous and I was talking to Labour, then I'd probably be like, oh, actually, that makes some sort of sense. But I just think, on the whole, it's nothing to be scared of. Look, the fact is, if all wages are going up, then everyone's sort of doing it. We're all in the same camp. We just do it. Customers understand. You're going to put your price up because of it. Customers generally favour increasing wages to staff anyway. So it is what it is. So, but one thing I'm interested in, and it's something just to look at, is they've already declared that they're going to make it, whatever the low pay commission says, and at the moment the recommendation looks like 1188, and it will be not 21 plus, 18 plus. So that's pretty much set in gold. What we're not sure of is, do they make that for 16 pluses? And there's some talk saying that they might, because they're already talking about how 16-year-olds pay tax, how they, that they should be able to vote. Well, if they start doing all of that, then do 16-year-olds also get the same wage as an adult?
Would that make older workers more attractive?
I think so. They'd be able
to younger people. Yeah. So wouldn't that be a disincentive to hire 16 and 18?
Isn't this all discriminatory in itself? Because if we then start saying to ourselves, if I've got to pay £12 an hour, would I not rather get an adult? That's
Well, the price of your Big Mac's going to go through the roof.
Well, I think the price of everything's going to go through the roof. I think but I do think
some of those points.
But I do think customers generally are favourable when you say it's for staff wages.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And if everyone does it, then it's a level playing field. If they just say, So
if you point to the BMW in the drive and say thanks a lot, they tend to
they tend to not like that.
They tend to get triggered at that point.
Well, it's true. When they see one of Mark's Ferraris, Porsches, and Lambos, they don't like it. They they really find it offensive.
With gold wheels,
gold wheels, yeah, exactly. When he goes to the local farm, puts puds in the back of his Lambo, they're not happy. Well, in the front, technically, front. Sorry,
I don't let them see those.
Yeah,
he only puts a tow bar on the Rolls Royce.
No, we keep
we
keep taking the piss out of Mark, and it's really unfair because he was dealt a heavy blow of betrayal the other week, and I want him to tell us about this. So just let him get his tissues, and he'll tell us. Come on, mate.
He's got hurty feelings.
Thank you for acknowledging that, because this
Tell
is
group pop it, share.
I am. I'm gonna share with you.
Can you point to us on a chart where they touched you?
Yeah.
Show me on the tip.
Yeah. Point to the doll.
So maybe I am being a bit oversensitive, but I want everybody's thoughts on this. I've got competition in my town, which is okay. It's about 150 yards from me.
How many meters is that?
Let's go metric. It's probably I don't know.
You can walk there in 30 seconds, mate. Like it's well close. And
might
as well be next door neighbours.
I want metric, not Roman Catholic. I'm just I'm metricated.
Well, it's a shop that shares the same brand, but they're all independents. But they create the idea that they're all the same name, and their model is to open near busy shops and try and take their customers with huge portions. They've got a big cash only sign in the window, and they came along probably about a year after I won Fish and Chip Shop of the Year, and then did 2-for-1 fish and chips for a long time to try and steal my customers. And for years and years and years, they keep selling up because they can't sustain what they're doing. And then a new owner comes in because they've seen massive turnover figures, but realise it quite quickly it doesn't make any money. Anyway, that's not why I'm sharing. They've been around for a long time, and their food's rubbish, but their portions are big. I saw a long-standing member of my staff coming out of there the other day, and it broke my heart. And it actually raises some serious questions. In my operations manual and my employees' handbook, it does mention how you can, even when you're out of work, bring my business into disrepute. You're not allowed to smoke if you're in my uniform, even if you're not at work, so on and so forth. So there is expected behaviour when you're not at work, as well as when you are in work, if you're representing my business. And can I be upset to see a member of my staff coming out of somebody else's chip shop? We were shut at the time. But it's still, I have this feeling of betrayal. I don't know. I just wonder what everybody else thought about it.
Did you ask them if they enjoyed the food?
They bloody well did. They had a chicken wrap. They didn't have fish and chips. They had a chicken wrap. But I just feel as though, I don't want to send them a Christmas card now. I don't want to ask them how they're doing when they turn up to work. I just want to make sure I get my 60 minutes work out of them in an hour. I feel like giving them some hot soapy water and a toothbrush and making them clean the grout. Do you know? I really want...
I don't know. I don't know. I just think I get why you're hurt because you guys are all at the coalface. But you can't tell them how to spend their money, can you? And you were closed. And what if his friends wanted to go? Sorry, Mark. What do
people think when they see a member of my staff coming out of somebody else's shop?
Just to add insult to injury, on a Sunday when you were shut, did they put the uniform on?
They didn't go in there in their uniform.
Even a hat?
Well, that's because they're still, if they'd done that, they wouldn't even still...
Roughly, how old is this person?
Mid-30s.
Okay. I should know better then, shouldn't I?
And the thing is, she's on the front till. You know, because I discriminate when I employ people. If you can smile and hold a conversation, you're a server. If not, you're a cook.
Keep the grumpy ones around the back.
And you know, she's been the part of the face and brand of my business for quite a while, and yeah. So
I'd imagine it's probably worse when you're in a local village. The feeling of it as well, because like I'm just trying to think, if you're in like York, not Haxby, but York, a larger place, I don't think it'd matter as much. Nobody would notice. But if you're in Chatteris, where you know there's 6 people and 4 tractors, yeah, it probably
where
matters.
you pick one person and 10 people limp.
You know, I just think I get it though, because you are working with that person, so it's awkward. But I don't know. I think you probably have got a reason to be upset internally,
but not professionally.
Nah, I just think you just got to get on with it. Yeah, I just think you got to get
really?
on. Yeah. Yeah.
See, this is probably the worst side of my personality, because I actually wanted to hold her underwater till the bubbles
I
stopped.
wanted to waterboard. Yeah.
Can't you just go halfway and waterboarder?
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe
with
she's
Mark.
fishing
I'd
for
be
a job.
livid. Absolutely livid. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd
Thank
be
you.
up on the bloody ceiling, chucking stuff about and ranting on. Then you'd have to calm down because they're not prisoners, are they? You know, so
They are sovereign individuals.
There's 2 ways of looking at it. I'd be absolutely livid, and I'd be very upset, very hurt, and I'd want to know why they don't like our place.
Did she ever mention
But
it?
then, as professional, you've got to probably get on with it. But you know, I was ever saying, when the bubble, you know, when you burst the bubble or burst the balloon, it can never go back, can it?
No.
So your relationship with your staff
There's
will never
another
be
saying:
the same.
you can't put the shit back in the horse. Yeah.
Same
But I think, you know, at the end of the day, the food's shit, innit? So, you know, it's just...
What, that?
Take that as a win.
How dare say
No, the
Did she,
competition.
I do wonder though, if she came in afterwards and let's say, oh Mark, you're not going to believe it, I had to go to that shop the other day, for whatever reason, you know, and it was terrible. I wanted to puke. Like, mate, or if she sent you a photo that night saying, mate, look at this horrendous monstrosity, would that have made you feel better? Do you think?
No.
Just out of interest, if we all come down to the Isle of Ely, can we all try it?
No.
No, we're going to go to his. Why are we going to go there?
It's going to be shut, isn't it? It's closed on a Sunday.
It's Ely.
I mean, think about Stelly gets it all the time. You know, Ceres, other ones, back to Ceres, other ones. He don't get upset, do you?
Yeah, he does.
I'm trying to think. Well, I'm trying to think.
He had hair once.
It was. There was that many tears it ruined his kebab last time.
I'm trying to think. Like,
I'm just wondering.
Didn't somebody ring you with a problem and it wasn't even your batter?
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, someone rang me the other week and they were like, "Oh, customers have been complaining about the batter." I'm like, "Oh, sorry to hear that. Anything changed?" No, nothing. 2 minutes down the line, oh, by the way, we've not been using your batter. We've been buying another one.
Actually, I've got on the text. I'll read out what you actually said. Oh no, what?
No, well, look, in fairness, that whole rant started because of Kelly, yeah? Kelly was telling us about a customer that apparently nearly died. Go on, Kelly.
So she purchased a fish cake. She spent £38. She purchased a fish cake and shared that fish cake. And we gave her food poisoning. So we told her and informed her to report it to the environmental health, as we did.
Yeah.
It was the only thing she shared. Do you know what? I've not heard a dicky bird from her.
Well,
there you go.
R.I.P. No, I'm joking.
R.I.P.
Passed away quietly in the sleep.
Do you not find that customers nowadays catastrophize their complaints? So, like, they literally bank in loads of different things instead of just saying.
Yes, they'll start off, won't they?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, well, this wasn't hot, and and
it's not enough that let's just say.
And last year.
Yeah. Let's just say
we've always been to you for 20 years, and we've had one shit experience. Well, thank you for the 20 years of support and telling me that you've had a great experience.
I see it so many times, like when someone like sends you like their complaints, just like, oh, well, how would you deal with this? And years ago, it'd just be, oh, I bought some chips and they were a little hard or they were a little brown or whatever it is. The fish was undercooked or the fish was small. Now it's, well, by the way, my delivery was late and the fish was dinky, and the chips were burnt, and the packaging looked like toilet roll, and it's just like,
and the delivery driver bit me thumb off.
yeah.
I look forward to a masterclass on customer service.
Oh,
I think that's going to be a fascinating subject.
Well, it's a tricky one, that's for sure.
Especially nowadays, it's just harder nowadays because of social media.
See, my dad,
social media is a killer.
My dad always used to say the customer is always right, and I sort of got it. But even he knew when to draw the line. Like, do you know what I mean? He knew when a piss take was a piss take. And I think now it's like, are we so afraid of customers that even in my business, I was so afraid. Like, so I give you another example. This is a fresh example. I've told you nobody about this. I only dealt with it over the weekend. So on our website, you can order free samples. Yeah. And we've noticed that over the period of 6 months, someone keeps ordering multiple samples, and we've only just flagged it up. It's not a big deal, but this one shop keeps ordering samples. So I quickly go find the shop online to just see what's going on. And it looks like he orders samples whenever he wants to take his chip van out. Yeah. So we message him and just say, look, there's a bit of confusion here. We can see that you're constantly ordering samples. There's about 6 orders in 6 months. Is everything all right? Can we help you with something? So we try to be like really cool about this. And he just responds saying, I want my samples. This is how I use them. Basically send them. Yeah. So we just responded saying, nah, really sorry, mate. That's not going to happen. And he goes, well, I need small packets because I'm really quiet. And I was like, okay, that's fine. You can buy this. But he was so rude. I mean, he was just like, I want them, send them. And basically, you'd be happy to send me free samples. And I was like, "Fuck off, mate! What do you think I am?" Like,
can I ask you still? Would you stop dealing with him, or would you just be happy to take his money to the bank and get on with it?
Well, there's no money, is there? If you're giving
no, but if he starts buying off you,
no. So we emailed him back saying, "Dear date, you can buy this product, which is our traditional batter mix, which comes in smaller packets, and then everything else you can buy like everybody else." Yeah. And if you're not happy with that, then that's it. We leave it there. We let him make the choice of whether he wants us to decline his service. But the fact is, if you're not paying for something, you are not a customer. Whereas a while ago, we've probably all gone through a phase where we're like, we started off really polite. If he was polite, I might have met him halfway with something. Yeah. To help him use our products in a smaller fashion. But the fact is, he probably hasn't even got a sustainable business if he's only using samples once a month. Or is he just ringing around all wholesalers and constantly getting free samples? And that's also a thing. You see a lot. I talk to a lot of these reps and they're like, oh, that guy just wants samples. And that's just not a sustainable way to run a business, in my opinion. So, So, yeah, I think sometimes you've just got to draw a line in the sand and say, we're not mugs. Yeah, we've got a business to run. We've got customers that we actually want to support,
As much as I want you to name and shame him, the way Kelly wants you to name him and shame him.
Me too.
I think professionally, you should let him remain anonymous. But on the subject of anonymity, there's somebody that I think needs to stand up and reveal himself. And that is the complete. Well, how can I describe him? Okay,
steady.
Yeah, okay. The complete idiot, because I just pulled back from using some really choice words. who had a dig at Andrew Crook this week on the social media about him being a mystery judge for the NFFF and how. They actually tried to devalue the integrity and the importance of the Fish and Chip Awards. I actually felt quite sorry for Ryan Hughes through it as well, but particularly felt sorry for Andrew Crook. It's if you can't put your name and your face to your words, don't bother. Thankfully, it was on a closed group that was only seen by industry people. But the damage that something like that could have done had it been put into the public domain, it doesn't bear thinking about. And I actually feel very sorry for Andrew on that. And so yeah, you're an idiot. And you're lots of other things beyond idiot. Whoever posted that, and we don't need anonymity in in this type of thread shouldn't be allowed. If you don't put your name to it, you shouldn't be allowed to say it.
Can they be booted out then by the?
Well,
the
admin of that group lets anonymous post, so he probably wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So,
do you not find it boring? Like, do you not just find that sort of shit boring? It's like, get over yourself.
Look,
like,
one thing
your opinion's clearly not that important if you can't put your name to it.
So, Andrew's listening to this. Well, you will do, I think. Maybe he may not. Me and him haven't always agreed on things. I'll tell him. I'm happy to tell him to his face, and if I had a problem, I'd just say it. But I think there's a way that you frame things, and I've been a real big fan of this podcast is to challenge things and to break things apart, not the people, but the practices. Doing an anonymous post like that. I've seen a lot of them though. There seems to be a lot of them. And I think someone picked up on the fact that there's always these anonymous posts. It doesn't happen in the group that Kelly's in on. They don't have anonymous posts. And apparently nor does the other one. There's 3 now. There's 3 fish and chip groups, I think. But you know what? They're obviously just trying to take a swipe. They're obviously pissed off with the fact that Ryan won, which tells you it's probably someone in Wales. Yeah.
Yeah.
But to the point of Andrew judging, well, he's part of the NFFF, right? I don't really see the issue with that. Like Nicky Hawkins did judging, so I don't think. I just don't think
I judge people I know, but I'm very professional about it. It's in fact, I'm probably more critical of people I know than people I don't know. If anything, I try and achieve.
Cover your back even more, so there's no how do you say it, David?
Ambiguity.
Thank you. And nobody's going to go, well, it's because he's his friend. You're more.
Well, I think the impressive thing is I never knew you could post anonymously on any groups in Facebook. Because I don't do Facebook as well, so it's just generally a place to go and have an argument with somebody.
I'm the master of disguise as well. When I visit your shop, you don't know till I've been.
He has a red wig.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, what entertained me was the point I mystery shopped him. It's like, come on, it's no mystery. I mean, you walk through the door, you're not gonna recognise who it is.
I think the problem is,
unless you send somebody else in. Just a minute. Can I just? There's two issues. The first one is that the judging process is as clear as a muddy puddle. And that void, it gets filled, and in this case, by absolute bullshit. Someone's got to judge them. But, the Fry 50 don't get this sort of flack because...
I think people complain about them too. They must do.
It's mostly people that have, said, oh, I cook food. I don't cook to order because it's a service and I've been judged down for that. That's most of it. But there isn't a winner, is there? So it's just a 50 collective. But yeah, it's nonsense. You're right. It's somebody down the road who's
the problem with the anonymous post is that it actually detracts from real issues that David has been trying to talk about, and with his name on a podcast, and and I know Andrew dislikes David having an opinion, which, I'm hoping they can sit down and discuss one day, but it doesn't look likely. But the fact is, David has tried to voice his opinions in a nice way, criticising and I don't mean criticising as in mocking, I mean the real word, being critical of the process. It makes these anonymous posts make a mockery of everything, because then it looks like it puts Andrew's back up, because he'll see that and think these are all attacks, and then he bundles all these together. Whereas really, one is just being critical of something, the process, and the other one is being highly offensive to the person. And they're 2 different things, in my opinion. So that's why I don't like those anonymous posts. Yeah.
Like I say, if you haven't got the balls to put your name to it, then
don't do it. Yeah, exactly.
If you're going to say something, just say it, but put your name to it, and then at least you can then pick it apart and you can have a debate with that person, as opposed to just it's a coward's approach to doing anything. But it's just, as I say, it does diminish any genuine. And I say I was critical because I hoped it would sort of induce change, and what it has, it's just induced ire. It's just someone's got slightly annoyed with what I've said and probably dismissed it. So it is what it is.
Let's hope not. Let's hope that the dialogue of conversation is always open. Kelly, why were you impressed that McDonald's have started doing offers?
I don't know whether I was impressed. I was
Worried?
more just thought. I just thought it was quite. Yeah, found it like quite fascinating, really, that they clearly. I mean, clearly they're not struggling, but they're obviously
probably are.
And they're looking at a different market, right? I mean, we did a sausage special. Not stolen off Mr. Horribin at all. Thought it was a great idea, and it was one of our best-selling specials. And I just thought it was fascinating that McDonald's are clearly going down that route, and something that I never thought they'd do. Obviously, they created the value meal, if you like, I suppose. But 4 burgers, 4 fries, and something else for 19 quid. I just thought it was an interesting topic to kind of get your views on, really, and what you thought, if anything.
I think McDonald's are very rarely original, but if they see a good idea, that's when they turn it into a mega beast. But I do think, it's not just them doing these offers. You're seeing KFC have always done the value meals and all of that. And then you've got the likes of Chesterford Group. If you're looking at any of their social medias at the moment, it's just constant value, offer. They are doing everything to get footfall up. I think they're on the right track. I think they have to. I think even if there is a real cost of living crisis out there or a perceived cost of living crisis out there, customers are choosing how to spend their money differently. I think in yesteryears, I think fish and chips always did well because everyone traded down and fish and chips generally always picked up customers. I think now customers are fussier. I don't know. I think that they're spending money differently. So, I think everyone's doing whatever they can do to get more customers through the door. Mm. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not something I've not a road I've gone down because we've always had really good GP and we've always had really good footfall. So
I do meal deals. I've got a Home Alone meal deal and it's I've bundled stuff together and I use the profit margin in my drinks and condiments to make people's pennies go further. I do a date night box meal for couples, and then I do a Hank Marvin, which will feed a family, but it'll also feed a pig. So, and I just run with those. What I don't tend to do is discount stuff. I don't like discounting stuff. I will do meal deals. That's about as far as I go. But and that's only really because I've talked to my customers, I've listened to my customers, and I've got something that works really well. I think if I was struggling for footfall, I just send a push notification on my app, and then I can be as busy as I want to be. I actually set my trade levels to the amount of staff I've got on. If somebody lets me down, I'll turn my app down because I'd rather feed 40 customers well than struggle to feed 50, because then I've got 40 happy customers that are going to return and maybe 10 that couldn't get through that have to come up and wait. I'm in a lovely position, but it's taken me 37 years to get there.
I must admit, it's sort of similar to this conversation. You mentioned him, Kelly, and it's Alistair Horribin. I think that he really drives these offers, and for whatever reason, which is his reason. I'm sure he's told us on the podcast. To be honest, he likes to drive volume, and I did really enjoy the podcast that you did with him. I've done 2 with him, but I still listened to your one with him, and I learnt a lot too. Like, considering I'd spoke to him,
I admire him so much. Such a strong guy.
The guy's a machine. I genuinely believe, though, if you're doing those things, these strongman things and 100-mile runs or whatever it is that he does, you've got to be a psychopath. Ultra. He's got to be an absolute psycho, because he's so focused on these things, and it's amazing. And he said some really nice things about his dad, and you can tell his heart's in the right place, and his business mind for his business is in the right place too. And there's no one business is the same. And
no.
So listen. I always say to people, don't just listen to one of these podcasts and think I've got to do what he's doing. I've got to do what he's doing, because it doesn't always work like that. You've got to. I remember when I first went to Mark's shop in 2005, 2006, and I wanted to go back and take it all back to my shop, because you just think that but Chatteris and Nuneaton are 2 different places, and those 2 customers are, very different groups. So, but I just wanted to say I really enjoyed that episode, Mark, and I do think,
I enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, I knew you would with him anyway. I knew you'd enjoy it. So, but and But yeah, I think, we're coming to the end of this one. I've enjoyed this episode, guys. We've had no technical issues in the episode, which is great. In the episode itself, we will get to the bottom of these technical issues. I think we're all just too giddy to do it. That's the thing. And but we've been. I've got a podcast coming up soon with a management specialist. I think it's next week actually. And he when I say management, so he helps the likes of Pizza Express and he trains their managers to deal with teams and be leaders. And yeah, he told me about this book called Radical Candor, and me and Kelly's in the middle of reading it at the moment. So next week we're going to be experts. So anything you guys need, just come to me and Kelly. No, we're not at all. But it is interesting because I do think that's another thing, that management and leadership skills are going to be so important now, because with all what's going on with staff and wages, and yeah, I think we're going to have to find some new tools to put in our toolbox, because managing people is going to be a lot harder, put it that way, because I always find that people learn their rights pretty fast. So, so we just got to get up to speed, Yeah.
Well, I've enjoyed being part of it. Thank you very much.
No. And we've got...
Yeah, you see, I didn't go ranting off like Mr. Miller was going to think. I was an explosion of anger. It's not.
It's not your style.
It's not my style. I'm too chilled out, I'm afraid.
Can I just say, David, you
Yes,
conducted yourself remarkably there.
Oh, thank you. It's fine. I like.
You two are like two old gentlemen in a pub, aren't you?
Absolutely.
I feel like we're all really bonding quite well.
If I had a hat, I'd.
But this is
it.
what I said. We should all meet and go to Isle of Ely, because we should all do something together.
Well, I've got a ticket. I've booked a ticket.
Oh, have you?
I'm going. Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine their face when they saw that ping through.
Oh yeah, I bet they're going to be out.
Yeah, I've got 4 reserved. So there you go.
Lovely. So it's just whether Kelly and Tim's coming then as well.
No,
Yeah, I just need to. I work my logistics and ask Mr. Barnes if he thinks it's possible.
Your nephew can get married another time. It's irresponsible.
Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, that's a bone of contention in our family, I'm afraid. He hasn't invited my niece, so she's fuming.
You might have a do the next day as well. You don't want to be missing that. They normally have a do the next day as well, don't they now? So you don't want to be missing that. Yeah.
Is it on Saturday or Sunday? I'm really confused. It's on Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Because it used to be Monday, didn't it? Okay.
I just thought it'd be great to see Mark and all of us together, and but
yeah. How far away is
Mark.
Bedford from Ely? I don't know.
Oh, not far. It's about. Well, it depends what you're driving, but I can do it in 30 minutes.
How far is where from where?
Bedford.
It's in Bedford to Ely.
Almost there.
Who's in Bedford?
That's where they're getting married.
The wedding.
Yeah.
Time to move
You
it
can
up.
do both. You can definitely do both.
Or just do one.
Yeah.
Just go to the wedding, quickly show your face, and go to Isle of Italy.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, we won't get into family
If
politics.
one's on the
but-
Saturday and one's on the Sunday, it's logistically very feasible.
Yeah.
Unless you're
Yeah.
hanging out your arse. If you're hanging out your arse from the wedding,
It's not that sort of wedding, I'm afraid. Well, I've got a wedding on the Friday, a wedding on the Saturday, and then I've got. Yeah, do you know what? I will get Tim to. Although the poets have not got the copper bath, so I don't know.
I
by the old
I
bridge at Huntingdon, that's near between Bedford and Ely. They've got the marriage suite at the old bridge. Amazing,
Fabulous.
I
I'll
don't know.
book that.
I never,
old bridge.
I'm booking that now.
I never saw Kelly as a bath person, to be honest, or a shower person.
This is like the Cadbury's flake bath.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing, really. Yeah.
Oh, I expect a man like milk tray, just...
Well,
luck with that.
So all right, well, yeah, it's going to be premiering for you, though. Yeah. Well, look,
I am from the Midlands, after all.
everyone, it's been amazing, and yeah, thanks for this, and I'm sure everyone's going to love our conversation, and yeah, we'll touch base,
so.
and I think we'll be doing this again after our holidays. So, yeah,
Yeah,
have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. See ya.
Bye.
Cheers.